The massive alien ship hung in space like a silver mountain. Its hull stretched for miles, covered in strange glowing symbols that hurt human eyes to look at directly. Inside the ship's main chamber, Colonel Jake Morrison stood perfectly still. His hands remained at his sides even though every instinct told him to reach for his weapon. The chamber was huge. The ceiling disappeared into darkness above them. Strange lights floated in the air without any visible source. The walls seemed to breathe and shift like living tissue. Jake had seen many alien technologies in his 20 years of military service, but nothing like this. Beside him, Dr. Lisa Martinez adjusted her tablet with shaking fingers. She was the colony's chief scientist and the only person who could speak the alien languages. Her face was pale but determined. Jake knew she was scared. Hell, he was scared too, but they couldn't show it. Not now. 3 massive thrones sat at the far end of the chamber. Each throne was different, built for a different type of alien body. The first throne looked like it was made of black metal and sharp edges. The second appeared to be carved from a single giant crystal that sparkled with inner light. The third seemed to be made of swirling gas that somehow held a solid shape. On the metal throne sat Ambassador Kethfer of the Zenthari Empire. He was 7 feet tall, with gray skin that looked like armor plating. His forearms ended in clawed hands and his eyes glowed red in the dim light. When he spoke, his voice sounded like grinding metal. "Humans," Kethfer said, and the word sounded like a curse. "You stand accused of crimes against the Galactic Preservation Protocols. You have defiled a sacred world with your presence." Jake wanted to laugh. Sacred world. The planet they had colonized was nothing but rock and thin air when they arrived. It had taken 3 years of hard work to make it livable. They had built cities, farms, and homes for 50,000 people. Now these aliens called it sacred. On the crystal throne sat something that might have been female, though Jake couldn't be sure. Her body was made of living crystal that changed colors as she moved. When she spoke, her voice sounded like wind. Chimes in a gentle breeze. "The world you call Kepler-4 for 2b has been designated as a wilderness preserve for 8,000 of your years," she said. "Your species has violated sacred law by changing its natural state." Dr. Martinez stepped forward. Her voice was steady despite her fear. "We were not aware of any such designation. Our survey showed no signs of intelligent life or prior claims to the system." The third alien made a sound like distant thunder. Its body was mostly gas and energy, constantly shifting between solid and transparent. When it spoke, the words seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Ignorance is not an excuse for violation of cosmic law," it rumbled. "Your species is young and violent. You come from a death world that breeds only destruction and chaos." Jake's jaw tightened. He had heard this before. Death world. That's what the aliens called Earth. They said it was too dangerous, too harsh, too violent to produce civilized life. They pointed to Earth's weather, its gravity, its predators, its diseases. They said humans were too aggressive, too stubborn, too willing to fight. Maybe they were right, but Jake was proud of where he came from. Ambassador Kethfer leaned forward. "On his throne, however, we are not without mercy. We offer you a choice, humans. Abandon your illegal colony and return to your death world. Accept a ban from space expansion for 1,000 years. Do this, and we will allow your species to live." The chamber fell silent. Jake could hear his own heartbeat in his ears. 1,000 years. That would destroy humanity's future among the stars. They had worked so hard to reach this point. 50 years of building ships, learning to travel between stars, finding new worlds to call home. All of it would be lost. "And if we refuse?" Jake asked. The crystal alien made a sound like breaking glass. "Then you will face the ancient law. Trial by combat in the Thunderdome of Worlds." Dr. Martinez looked at Jake with wide eyes. She had studied alien laws and customs. She knew what this meant. 3 of your champions against 3 of ours," Kethfer explained. "If you win, you keep your colony and gain full recognition as a galactic species. If you lose, you'll return to your death world in shame. The galaxy will know that humans are weak and unworthy of the stars." Jake thought about the 50,000 colonists on Kepler 442. B. He thought about their children playing in the parks they had built. He thought about the farms that fed them and the factories that gave them work. He thought about old Maria Santos, who had saved for 30 years to buy passage to a new world. He thought about young Pete Johnson, born on the colony and calling. At home. How long do we have to decide? Jake asked. 30 standard days, Kethfer replied. Choose your champions well, human. Our warriors have never been defeated. The gas alien spoke again, its voice like rolling thunder. We suggest you. Choose wisely. The Zenthari will send War Prime Thekmer, who has killed 1,000 enemies in personal combat. The Veltar will send Crystal Singer Lethana, whose song can shatter mountains. The Nephrim will send Stormcaller Vexahan, who commands lightning. Itself, Jake felt the weight of the decision pressing down on him. This wasn't just about the colony anymore. This was about humanity's place in the galaxy. Win, and they would be respected as equals. Lose, and they would be marked as prey for every predator species out there. We accept your challenge, Jake said. His voice was calm and steady, even though his heart was racing. Dr. Martinez stared at him in shock. They had not discussed this. He was making the decision for all of humanity. Ambassador Kethfer's red eyes glowed brighter. Excellent. The trial will take place on Nexus Prime in 32 days. Bring your champions, human. We will show thee. Galaxy, what happens to Deathworlders who reach too far? The aliens began to fade from their thrones as the holograms ended. Jake and Lisa were alone in the suddenly quiet chamber. Jake, what have you done? Lisa whispered. Jake looked out through the chamber's massive window at the stars beyond. So somewhere out there was Earth. Somewhere was the colony they had built. Somewhere was humanity's future. I've given us a fighting chance, he said. We need to find 3 people crazy enough to take it. He activated his communication device and began recording a message to Earth Command. The words came easily, though they would change everything. This is Colonel Morrison on Kepler 44-B. We need the best fighters humanity has ever produced. And we need them now. General Patricia Knox stood in the underground command center beneath Colorado Springs. The walls around her displayed screens showing star maps, ship movements, and personnel files. Her gray hair was pulled back tight, and her dark eyes studied. Each file with the intensity of a hawk watching prey. Colonel Morrison's message had arrived 3 days ago. The recording played on repeat in her mind. 3 champions to fight for humanity's future. 3 people to stand against alien warriors, who had never lost a battle. Ma'am, we have the final candidates ready for review, said Captain Williams, her aide. He was young and nervous, constantly adjusting his uniform. Patricia nodded. Show me what we have. The first file appeared on the main screen. Captain Ryan Blake, age 34, former Navy SEAL. His photo showed a man with short brown hair, green eyes, and scars across his left cheek. His record was impressive and terrifying. Blake served 6 tours in underwater combat operations, Williams read. After leaving the military, he worked as an asteroid miner in the belt for 8 years. He holds records for longest survival in vacuum without a suit. 14 minutes and 37 seconds. Patricia studied the file. Blake had fought in places where one mistake meant death. Underwater at crushing depths, in space where air was precious, on asteroids where gravity could shift without warning. He was used to environments that wanted to kill him. What's his psychological profile? She asked, stable under extreme stress. Adapts quickly to new situations. Shows unusual calm during life-threatening events. His mining crew calls him Iceman because nothing seems to rattle him. The second file replaced Blake's. Dr. Amy Chen. Age 29, xenobiologist, and former Olympic athlete. Her picture showed an Asian woman with kind eyes and calloused hands. Chen won silver in fencing at the Tokyo Olympics before going into science. Williams continued. She has spent the last 5 years studying alien physiology. She knows more about non-human biology than anyone on Earth. Patricia frowned. A scientist. We need fighters, not researchers. With respect, ma'am, Chen requested combat training after reading about alien encounters. She learned knife fighting, gun combat, and hand-to-hand techniques. Her trainers say she's one of the fastest learners they've ever seen. Plus, she might be the only person who can figure out how to hurt these aliens. The third file appeared. Sergeant Carlos Rodriguez, age 31, Marine Corps veteran. His dark eyes seemed to look right through the camera. Multiple commendation. Medals decorated his dress uniform. Rodriguez survived the Martian dust wars, Williams said. His unit was trapped in a sandstorm for 6 days with no food and limited water. He kept 12 men alive by finding shelter in caves and hunting local wildlife. Patricia remembered the Mars operations. The planet's dust storms could last for weeks and tear through any equipment. The fact that Rodriguez had not only survived, but kept others alive said everything about his character. He's also shown an unusual ability to adapt to alien environments, Williams added. During first contact with the European ice miners, he was the only human who could work alongside them. Without getting sick from their atmosphere, Patricia closed the files. These three, they're our best options, ma'am. Blake for combat in harsh environments, Chen for understanding the enemy, Rodriguez for pure survival instinct. Get them here, now. 2 days later, the three champions stood in the briefing room. Patricia studied them carefully. Blake looked relaxed, like he was discussing the weather. Chen kept checking her tablet, probably reading about alien combat techniques. Rodriguez stood perfectly still, his eyes alert and ready. You know why you're here, Patricia began. Humanity's future depends on what you do in that arena. Blake spoke first. His voice was calm and steady. Ma'am, what do we know about our opponents? Dr. Martinez's hologram appeared in the center of the room. She had been working non-stop to analyze the alien champions. Warprime Thekmer is 7 feet tall with natural armor plating, Martinez began. His species evolved on a high-gravity world with dangerous predators. He's incredibly strong and fast. His weapon is a plasma rifle that can cut through steel. Chen leaned forward. What about weak spots? Their armor has joints that must flex for movement. The neck area seems less protected. But Thakmer has been fighting for over 20 years. He knows his weaknesses and how to protect them. The image changed to show the crystal alien. Crystal singer Lithana can reshape her body into weapons. Her species communicates through sound frequencies, can create sonic attacks that shatter most materials. Rodriguez asked, how do you fight someone made of living crystal? Find the right frequency to disrupt her structure, or hit her core matrix hard enough to cause cascading failures, Martinez replied. But she's fast and can predict most attack patterns. The final image showed the gas alien. Stormcaller Vexahan is the most dangerous. Species exists as pure energy most of the time. It can phase through solid matter and control electromagnetic fields. Lightning is his primary weapon. Blake whistled softly. How do you hit something made of gas? Force him into solid form somehow, or use the environment against him? But Vexahan has never been injured in combat. His species considers physical defeat impossible. Patricia stepped forward. You have 18 days to prepare. The arena changes environments every hour to favor different species. You'll face conditions ranging from underwater combat to zero gravity to extreme radiation. Chen spoke up. General, what happens if we lose? Patricia met her eyes. Humanity goes back to Earth with its tail between its legs. Every predator species in the galaxy will see us as easy prey. Our colonies will be raided, our ships attacked, our people enslaved, or worse. The room fell silent. The weight of responsibility settled on their shoulders like a heavy blanket. But if we win? Rodriguez asked. We become equals in the galactic community. We earn respect through strength. Humanity takes its place among the stars. Blake stood up. When do we leave for the arena? Tomorrow? The ship is already prepared. You'll have the journey to continue training and studying your opponents. As the three champions filed out, Patricia called after them. Remember, you're not just representing Earth. You're representing every human who ever looked up at the stars and dreamed of walking among them. That night, Patricia stood on the observation deck watching the stars. Somewhere out there, alien warriors were preparing to destroy humanity's champions. They had never lost a trial by combat. They expected an easy victory over primitive Deathworlders. They were about to learn that humans from a death world didn't know how to quit. The transport ship launched the next morning, carrying humanity's hope toward the distant arena. Watched until it disappeared among the stars, then returned to her office to wait. The thunder was coming. She just hoped it would be loud enough. The Thunderdome of Worlds was carved from a single massive asteroid. Its black walls stretched up into darkness, and strange alien lights cast dancing shadows across the arena floor. Thousands of beings from dozens of species filled the viewing platforms. They'd come to watch humanity fall. Captain Ryan Blake stood at the entrance to the arena. His breathing was steady and calm. Beside him, Dr. Amy Chen checked her equipment one last time. Sergeant Carlos Rodriguez cracked his knuckles and rolled his shoulders. All three wore simple combat gear and carried basic weapons. No advanced technology was allowed in the trials. Across the arena, the alien champions waited. Warprime Thokmer stood like a statue of death, his plasma rifle gleaming in the strange light. Crystal Singer Lathana shifted and sparkled, her body changing colors with each breath. Stormcaller Vexahan flickered between solid and gas, electricity dancing around his form. Ambassador Kethver's voice boomed across the arena. Let the trials begin. First combat. Captain Blake of Earth against Warprime Thakmer of the Zenthari Empire. The arena floor began to change. Gravity shifted, becoming lighter than Earth normal, but heavier than space. The air grew thin and took on a greenish tint. Radiation levels spiked to levels that would kill most species in hours. This was the Zenthari homeworld environment, designed to give Thakmer every advantage. Blake walked onto the arena floor. The radiation made his skin tingle, but he had worked in asteroid belts where cosmic rays were a daily danger. The thin air reminded him of high-altitude training in the Himalayas. He had prepared for this. Thakmer raised his plasma rifle and fired. The energy bolt screamed past Blake's head, close enough to singe his hair. Blake rolled left and came. Up running, his training kicked in automatically. Never stay still. Keep moving. Use the environment. The arena was filled with chunks of metal debris meant to simulate a Zenthari battlefield. Blake dove behind a twisted piece of hull plating as another plasma bolt exploded where he had been standing. The metal was hot too, the touch and glowed with residual energy. Thokmer advanced slowly, his forearms allowing him to reload and aim without pause. His red eyes scanned for any sign of movement. He had killed hundreds of enemies in arenas just like this one. Humans were supposed to be weak and slow. Blake waited until Thokmer was close, then kicked a piece of debris into the air. Warrior instinctively fired at the movement. In that split second, Blake rolled out from cover and threw his combat knife. The blade struck Thakmer's weapon, damaging the plasma coils. The alien roared in fury and charged. His clawed hands reached for Blake's throat. Blake had fought underwater, where water slowed every movement. He had fought in zero gravity, where there was no up or down. He knew how to adapt. Blake grabbed a length of metal cable and swung it like a whip. The cable wrapped around Thokmer's leg. Blake pulled hard, using the alien's own momentum against him. Thakmer crashed into a pile of debris, with a sound like thunder. But Zenthari warriors were tough. Thakmer rolled to his feet and grabbed a piece of jagged metal as a weapon. He swung it at Blake's head with enough force to crush bone. Ducked and grabbed another cable. This one was connected to a large piece of machinery hanging from the arena ceiling. He pulled the release mechanism he had spotted earlier. The machinery crashed down on Thakmer, pinning him to the ground. The alien struggled, but could not break free. His armor was cracked and sparking. Green blood seeped from cuts across his gray skin. Yield, Blake said simply. Thakmer's red eyes burned with hatred, but he nodded once. The first trial was over. The arena changed again. The walls became crystal that rang like bells when touched. The floor turned into singing stone that vibrated with each step. This was the Veltar Crystal Caves, where sound was both tool and weapon. Dr. Amy Chen walked onto the crystal floor. Her fencing training had taught her to feel vibrations through her feet, to sense her opponent's movements through the slightest tremor. Here, the entire arena sang with motion and energy. Crystal singer Lithana flowed into the arena like living music. Her body chimed and sparkled as she moved. When she opened her mouth, the sound that came out could shatter stone. The sonic attack hit Chen like a physical blow. Her ears rang and her vision blurred. Most beings would have been stunned or killed by that sound. But Chen had studied Veltar physiology for years. She knew their frequency ranges and harmonic patterns. Chen pulled out a small device she had built during the journey to the arena. It was simple but effective, a sonic disruptor that could generate counter frequencies. She activated it, and suddenly, the arena filled with a different kind of music. Lithana's song faltered. The counter frequency was disrupting her ability to maintain her crystalline structure. Cracks appeared along her arms and torso, but the crystal singer was not helpless. She reshaped her hands into razor-sharp blades and attacked directly. Her crystal body moved faster than human eyes could follow. Chen drew her sword and fell into a fencing stance. Blade met crystal in a shower of sparks. Chen's training took over. Parry, riposte, advance, retreat. She had fought the best human fencers in the world. This was just another opponent with a different fighting style. Lithana's crystal blades were sharp but brittle. Each impact with Chen's steel sword sent cracks through the alien's weapons. Chen pressed her attack. Using precise strikes to target the stress points in the crystal structure, the final blow came when Chen found the exact frequency that would cause cascading failure in Veltar crystal. She struck Lithana's chest while her sonic disruptor hit the resonant note. The crystal singer's body shattered like glass, leaving only her core matrix intact. Lithana reformed slowly, her body dim and weak. She could no longer fight. "I yield," she said, her voice like wind through broken chimes. The arena changed a third time. The walls disappeared, replaced by swirling clouds of gas. Lightning crackled through the atmosphere. Electromagnetic fields danced in patterns that made metal glow and spark. This was the environment of the Nephrim gas giants. Sergeant Carlos Rodriguez stepped into the storm. The air was thick and hard to breathe. Lightning struck near his feet, leaving scorch marks. On the metal floor, this was like nothing he had ever faced before. Stormcaller Vexahan materialized from the gas clouds. His form shifted between solid and energy, making him nearly impossible to target. When he raised his hand, lightning answered his call. The first bolt hit Rodriguez in the chest, throwing him backward. His clothes smoked and his muscles spasmed. But he had survived worse. On Mars, he had been caught in electrical storms that made this look like a light show. Rodriguez noticed something the alien had not considered. The arena's metal structure was perfect for conducting electricity. If he could turn that against his opponent, Rodriguez grabbed a piece of metal debris and began connecting it to other pieces with wire from his equipment. He was building something, but moving carefully to avoid another lightning strike. Vexahan attacked again, sending bolt. After a bolt of electricity at the human, Rodriguez dodged and weaved, never staying in one place long enough to be hit. His movements seemed random, but they were not. When Rodriguez finished his work, he had created a crude but effective Faraday cage. Metal walls and ceiling that would redirect electrical energy away from anything inside. "Come on," Rodriguez shouted at the storm alien. "Is that all you've got?" Vexahan roared and poured all his energy into one massive lightning attack. The bolt was bright enough to blind and powerful enough to melt steel. But it struck Rodriguez's metal cage and flowed harmlessly around him. The energy had to go somewhere, and it flowed back through the arena's structure directly to Vexahan himself. The feedback was too much for the energy being. Vexahan was forced into solid form, his gas body condensing into flesh and bone. Oh, he was vulnerable. Rodriguez stepped out of his cage and walked toward the stunned alien. Vexahan tried to phase back into energy, but the electrical feedback had damaged his ability to change form. One punch was all it took. Rodriguez's fist connected with Vexahan's jaw. The Stormcaller collapsed to the arena floor. The Thunderdome fell silent. 3 trials, 3 human victories. The impossible had happened. Ambassador Kethver's voice was barely a whisper. The trials are complete. Humanity has won. The silence in the Thunderdome stretched for long seconds. Thousands of alien beings sat in their viewing platforms, unable to believe what they had just witnessed. The impossible had happened. The Deathworlders had won. Ambassador Kethfer stood. At his diplomatic platform, his 4 hands clenched into fists. His red eyes burned with hatred and humiliation. For 3,000 years, no species had defeated the Council's champions in trial by combat. The law was ancient and binding, but that did not make it easier to accept. Captain Ryan Blake, Dr. Amy Chen, and Sergeant Carlos Rodriguez stood together in the center of the arena. Their clothes were torn and burned. Their bodies carried cuts and bruises from the battles. But they were alive, and they had won. Blake looked up at the thousands of alien faces staring down at them. Some showed respect. Others showed fear. A few showed anger. But they all showed something that had never been directed at humans before: recognition. Humanity was no longer invisible in the galaxy. Kethra's voice echoed through the arena, though each word seemed to cause him physical pain. By the ancient laws of trial by combat, I declare humanity the victor. Your colony rights are confirmed. Your species is granted full recognition in the Galactic Council. The words were barely out of his mouth before the arena erupted in noise. Aliens from dozens of species began talking at once. Some were excited, others worried. Political balance of the galaxy had just shifted in a way no one had expected. Dr. Lisa Martinez watched from the human observation area with tears in her eyes. Colonel Jake Morrison stood beside her, his face showing relief and pride in equal measure. They had gambled everything on 3 people, and those 3 people had delivered a miracle. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy changed in ways both large and small. The victory at the Thunderdome sent shockwaves through every inhabited system. Humanity had announced itself not as weak newcomers seeking protection, but as equals demanding respect. The first changes came quickly. Within days of the trial, Ambassador Velsina of the Aquatic Masali arrived at the human colony on Kepler 4 for 2b. Her people lived in the deep oceans of water worlds, and they had been watching Earth's vast seas with great interest. Your planet has biological diversity unlike anything we have seen, Velsina explained to Colonel Morrison through her water-filled environment suit. Our scientists would pay well for samples of your ocean life. In return, we offer advanced water purification, technology, and deep-sea mining equipment. Morrison accepted the trade agreement gladly. The Mersali technology would help human colonies on water-poor worlds, and Earth's marine biologists were excited to learn about alien ocean ecosystems. The insectoid Chitrik came next. Their queen, a massive being called Hive Mother Zokt, sent a diplomatic swarm to negotiate military exchanges. The Chitrik had been impressed by human adaptability and wanted to learn human tactics. Your warriors showed innovation in battle, the swarm speaker explained. Our soldiers are strong, but think in predictable patterns. We would trade advanced armor technology for training in human combat methods. Even some factions within the Zenthari Empire reached out secretly. War Commander Morgith, who had watched Thokmara's defeat, sent a coded message expressing interest. In human military techniques, the rigid Zenthari hierarchy had produced powerful but inflexible warriors. Human adaptability offered new possibilities, but not all reactions were positive. Ambassador Kethfer returned to the Zenthari homeworld in disgrace. The Council of War Primes was furious at the defeat of their champion. Emergency sessions were called to discuss the human problem. Intelligence reports soon reached Earth Command. Zenthari agents were funding pirate raids on human shipping lanes, or providing advanced weapons to criminal organizations that operated in human space. They were spreading propaganda claiming that humans were dangerous Deathworlders who would corrupt and destroy peaceful galactic civilization. The Veltar and Nephrim were more subtle, but equally hostile. They began economic pressure campaigns, trying to isolate human trade. They spread rumors that human technology was primitive and unreliable. They questioned humanity's right to claim territory and civilized. Space General Patricia Knox read the intelligence reports in her underground command center. She had expected this. Victory in the arena was just the beginning of a much larger conflict, ma'am. We're seeing increased pirate activity in the outer colonies, Captain Williams reported. 3 freighters attacked this week. The ships were using modified Zenthari weapons. Patricia nodded grimly. What about our military? Expansion? Ship construction is ahead of schedule. The victory at the Thunderdome has increased recruitment by 300%. Everyone wants to serve after what Blake, Chen, and Rodriguez accomplished. The 3 champions had returned to Earth as heroes. Parades welcomed them in every major city. Blake went back to asteroid mining, but now commanded his own fleet of ships. Chen established a new research institute focused on alien biology and combat applications. Rodriguez became an instructor at the military academy teaching adaptive survival techniques to a new generation of soldiers. But fame came with responsibility. They knew their victory had painted a target on humanity's back. Every young human who looked up at the stars now faced a galaxy where some species saw them as threats to be eliminated. Dr. Martinez worked 18-hour days establishing permanent diplomatic relations with friendly species. The Mercilli alliance was solid, and the Chitrik military exchange was producing impressive results. Smaller species that had been dominated by the Council powers were quietly reaching out to humanity. Seeing an opportunity to gain protection from a new galactic player, Colonel Morrison, now promoted to general, oversaw the rapid expansion of human settlements. The victory had opened up new territories that had been denied to them before. Hundreds of ships launched from Earth each month carrying colonists, traders, and soldiers to distant stars. But the greatest change was in humanity itself. The species that had once looked up at the night sky and wondered if they were alone now knew they were part of something much larger. They also knew they had earned their place through strength and courage. On the first anniversary of the Thunderdome victory, Blake stood before a crowd of 10,000 people in New York City. The celebration was broadcast to every human colony and settlement across dozens of star systems. A year ago, they called us Deathworlders like it was an insult, Blake said, his voice carrying across the crowd and through space to millions of listeners. They forgot that means we're survivors. Survivors don't just endure. We thrive. The crowd roared its approval. Across the galaxy, humans working on distant worlds, fighting pirates in deep space, and building new homes on alien planets heard those words and felt pride swell in their chests. They wanted to see us crawl away in defeat, Blake continued. Instead, they awakened something they didn't understand. They awakened Earth, they awakened humanity, they awakened thunder. In her command center, General Knox watched the celebration while monitoring reports from across human space. New colonies were being established. New ships were being built. New alliances were being formed. The thunder that had echoed through the Thunderdome was still growing louder. This was only the beginning. The galaxy would never be the same.